Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be talking to you guys today. We have a very interesting talk with Guru here, who's the VP of Networking and Security, Global Networking and Security at S&P Global. He's been using our solution for a long time now, and they've used it to solve many different use cases, from multi-cloud to hybrid environments to mergers and acquisitions, partner onboarding. They're going to be onboarding about 2,000 partners onto our infrastructure, and they're in the middle of that. And also global backbone replacement from service providers. So a little bit about Alkira. We are a platform built in the cloud, for the clouds, and for traditional networking environments. It's a fully redundant, highly reliable system, which is brought to you as a SaaS. So this is the first SaaS type offering in networking in the history of networking, I would say. The reason is that everything else you have to do orchestration, which is automated, as an example. Here, the data plane, the control plane, the management, and everything sits in the cloud. So you can build your environment in minutes across the globe versus going to different providers, trying to figure out how to deploy the solutions. So it's a very, very powerful solution from that perspective. I have 35 years of experience in the networking industry. My co-founder here, Atif Khan, he's been in the industry for over 30 years as well, and we are very proud to bring you this. So with that, let me hand it over to Guru, and why don't you take us through your journey as to how you got interested in Alkira, how you deployed it, and where you plan to take it in your multi-cloud environment, and also solving traditional use cases.
Amir, thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Morning, everybody. My name is Guru Prasad Ramamurthy, go by Guru. I head the Global Infrastructure and Network Services at S&P Global, leading a team of 200-member team in 3 different regions. And very recently, S&P Global underwent a $44 billion merger with IHS Markit. Merger of that big and scale brings complexity, and over the next few minutes, we will share some of those complexity and how we partnered with Alkira to deliver our integration at speed and at scale, and also deliver the business value at a same way as well. With that, I'll talk about company and scale a little bit, moving on. At a broader stroke, I'm sure many of you know who is S&P Global. We are a leading provider of independent ratings, benchmarks, analytics, and data to capital and commodity markets. Operate in about 80 offices, 20 on-prem locations, 4 multi-cloud providers. And to deliver that essential intelligence, we have 37,000 employees working around the clock to deliver the data and insights to keep the financial markets moving. And we have about 1,000 platforms. When I say 1,000 platforms, thousands of applications, petabytes of data that was built over 150 years is enabling the financial services market. And in my role, I lead a global team to support this large-scale infrastructure to make sure that they operate at speed, scale, and secure as well. Let's get into some of the use cases, right? This is a key story where I want most of you to resonate. This is a classic picture of how today's large enterprise look like. Over the last 2 days and for the next 2 days, look at the amount of technology on the floor. Look at the amount of partners and the vendors on the floor. Any large enterprises will have most of the technologies here, will be working with almost every single individual. Things just going to get even more complicated ahead of our journey. And that's not going to simplify even further. It's because of the fact that the power of cloud, power of moving to the cloud, the agility and the security and the speed one would get with the cloud. And because of the things that has to go into the cloud and the benefits our business teams are getting, the network is proliferating by itself. You wanted to connect to AWS, Azure, GCP, the SaaS, and whatnot is happening. And post-pandemic, your users are no more in the same locations. You have users all over the world. And the challenge of extending the network to everybody's home and delivering at the edge, it becomes even more complicated. And what happened over time, as things went into the cloud, the architectures that one had in the on-prem about dev, non-prod, QA, DMZ, all of that just got shattered. And when things went into the cloud, it becomes truly a cloud-native architecture, but it becomes very hard for the infrastructure team and security team to maintain the consistency in the cloud. So the inconsistency is causing a lot of challenges between on-prem to cloud, cloud to multi-cloud, and whatnot. And then, like I said, the shift in the user experience, as things go into the cloud, where everything goes into one side of the cloud, but your users all over the world are further experiencing latency, performance, and delivery challenges. And as things proliferate at this scale and speed, what ended up happening is we are picking on-point products and on-point tools and constantly adding things to the network and making it even more complicated. This is current digital infrastructure landscape of any banks, any large financial services customers, or any big giants you take in the market. Pretty much they are in this journey, and they are probably in the middle of evaluating or probably adopting or moving into this fully abstracted networking, fully abstracted security journey, because I think industry and the enterprises have crossed that on-prem journey, have gone into the cloud journey. Now they are actively looking at how do I abstract this further, and that's where the partnership with Alkira and the key players comes in place, so that enterprises can move on further. Amir, any thoughts on this?
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing, and tell us a little bit about your experience with Alkira so far, and how many use cases have you brought into the Alkira environment?
Well,
and where did you start?
Yes, of course. It always started with the merger that we had with IHS Market. We merged with a company of almost same size. It's a $44 billion merger. And as soon as the merger got completed, we had a lot of complementary data on the other side of the world. But our business team said, how do we bring two data, two platforms, two applications, put them on a common platform and go to the same customer and provide the value of it? And they cannot wait for 5 years of network integration. They cannot wait for another 5 years of user integration, identity integration. They expected networking teams to figure out, can you abstract, can you build an ecosystem that can bring the data and we can put it on a common platform and distribute the data in a meaningful way. The merger and acquisition was a very powerful use case. And as a result of the merger, on the other side of the company, we found about over 3,000 customers connected to us in a legacy partner net way, which means call Verizon and AT&T and pull the wires in and connect. And we felt that needs to be transformed, and every day there is a new customer getting onboarded to us. Because we are in the financial services, we distribute intelligence for them to operate, and they wanted to connect to us to collect the data. So we are working with Alkira to migrate those many customers into them, as well as we have already built a platform that is agnostic of the cloud, agnostic of who the customer is. They have an ability to connect to us. Think about like a Snowflake, right? You all know Snowflake, how you can distribute data in Snowflake. So Alkira is the Snowflake of networking, where you can provide a service, expose it in a secure way, so that a bank or a client or a partner could get connected to you and still securely distribute your clients and whatnot. In the previous picture, if you can go back for a second, we solved some of those challenges that we used to have back in days using, if we have to deploy a new region, how long one would take. Deploying a new cloud region used to take about 90 to 100 days because of the fact that you need a cloud exchange, you need a one cabinet worth of networking to put firewall, routers, switches, direct connects, and whatnot. Very recently, we have stood up a new region in less than 20 days with Alkira, with no capital investment needed. All we did is we understood what the business wants. We also understood what the regions they are going to interconnect, and we were able to onboard a fully brand new region from 0 to 100 in 20 days, which we were able to deliver. And business was able to see the benefit of the agility, and we were able to do that. I want to give you a simple analogy. If you were to do networking, the existing networking that you saw in the digital infrastructure landscape is like a switchboard. All of us have seen the switchboard of the telecom days, taking the blue wire, purple wire, green wires and connecting. That's your today's underlay networking. Treat it that way. You have to continue to treat your existing underlay on-prem or a hybrid networking as your legacy switchboard. But what Alkira has built is a modern, digital, powerful, abstracted switchboard so that you don't need human beings to connect. You don't need methodology to connect. All it is their modern switchboard is already orchestrated, automated, ready to deploy, and ready to go to market. So that gives us the ability to reduce the speed and go to market faster, and that way we can make sure the overall agility is met for the business value.
Yeah, and talk about how with the same team that you have today, you were able to accomplish much, much more. The networking knowledge doesn't go away, it just gives you more time to do things. So if you want to spend a little bit of time on that.
That's a key thing, right? Think about the scale that I talked about for S&P Global. We have today team members in our team who are doing classic routing switching firewall. Mm-hmm. We have team members doing AWS networking, Azure networking, and GCP networking. When we introduce this multi-cloud networking to abstract all of them, it's a common fear, am I going to lose all my skill? How do I retain my skill? But over time, those engineers saw the value in abstracting all of it, and we were able to reskill almost 70% of the existing team with the training and certification that you guys provide. And Alkira was able to come on site, provide trainings to our teams in US, Europe, and in India. So they were able to get themselves trained, certified, and today there is a number of use cases. My team and Amir's team are working on co-development, such as new feature requests, new capabilities. We were able to work together in further enhance the Alkira platform and constantly deploy. Today within S&P Global, we have put Alkira as an enterprise network exchange that sits in the middle that connects the entire hybrid networking together. We have Amazon connected, we have Google connected, GCP connected, Oracle, Adobe, whatnot. Every one of the cloud or SaaS providers within our ecosystem has got a leg in Alkira, and with all our on-prem and further extending, we are now in the process of extending our branch offices in which the classic SD-WAN infrastructure has been deployed. Those were extended into Alkira as well. And every branch office has got SD-WAN. Either you get it from Cisco or Fortinet or Palo or anybody. Alkira has that integration with most of them in seamlessly bringing them and attaching them. That way, you don't need to make any changes in your SD-WAN architecture, and they were able to adopt the policies, inherit the networking, and then also see the upstream side of the cloud and figure out what's the best path to deliver the packets end to end.
That's great. And sometimes, Guru, people deploy SaaS type applications and they say that, hey, I'm going to lose visibility or control over things. What's your perspective on that? Did you gain more visibility and control, or did you lose it?
Well, I think the single pane of glass that Alkira has built is one of the best, I would say. It's very hard. Historically, every networking teams have always figured out, how do I build an observability platform, right? You go to partners like Splunk and Grafana and all those people to build your observability dashboard. I believe the canvas that Alkira has got makes the networking team's life easier. We were able to see in a single pane of glass how the infrastructure is connected, and also within the single pane of glass, we were able to do a multi-cloud troubleshooting. That's a use case never existed in the market, which means I have an asset in AWS, I have another asset in Azure. We were able to do a troubleshooting on the platform, do packet capture, do sniffers, and figure out what's going on, and eventually solve those problems. That's the best use case Alkira has built. And I think one of the requests that I've always had, Amir, is as the platform grows, as the company grows, please keep that single pane of glass to help and enable our teams. That makes all of our life easier, because historically networking has been seen as a black box. I believe you and your team are making it as a white box for all of us to easily consume. Today, I have an ability to take Alkira in front of my CIO and our CTOs and showcase this is what the networking looks like.
Yeah.
Back in days, I used to take them to my data center and give them a walkthrough of what a data center looks like, and they don't understand as much as, and we don't get the support. But today we were able to showcase the speed, agility, complexity, how we solved all of this in a single pane of glass, sitting in a boardroom, giving that 10,000 feet view is the power of the platform.
And also, Guru, you're introducing AI into your environment, obviously, like any other enterprise customer. Talk a little bit about how it's going to increase the, performance requirements, bandwidth requirements, etc., and also agility that is required to bring these new environments together in a way that it's a very controlled environment. So if you want to shed some light on that, how Alkira will help you with that.
100%. The AI journey started almost at the same time where everybody started. For S&P Global, we started using some of the Azure AI at the beginning, and we are actively evaluating AWS Bedrock as well. But look at the amount of data we have, and we have about 6 business units, over 500 Scrum teams. They all wanted to evaluate AI in some form or the other. When we stood up this AI infrastructure, the LLM modules, there was a worry from the security team. How will you build it in a way where it's secure, it's kept arm's length from our core, but also have our data communicate with the LLM modules in a faster way? And that's where Alkira was put up in the middle as an exchange between the LLM modules and our data and our developers, so that we were able to stream the data at speed and also get the responses at speed. Today, almost every single business unit at S&P Global is consuming the models through the Alkira fabric, and which is secure. The transactions are being recorded in the platform that goes into the SIM, so that our information security team can constantly look at what's getting done, and then eventually, when things go wrong, we can easily turn off and isolate those services in a much more secure way.
Great, thank you. And also one more thing that I would like to ask you, Guru, is that you have a very broadly deployed global infrastructure, and you have long-haul MPLS type capabilities today that the service providers provide to you. And your view, because you are leading the transformation from that perspective also, your view on how the cloud will help you with that journey in reducing the cost and improving the performance of the applications globally, right? And that's something that people haven't started giving a thought to as much, right? To replace the global backbones with the cloud-like capabilities.
Well, with our cloud journey for S&P Global started at 2017. Like every large enterprises, as things go into the cloud, we have been moving into the cloud. Today, we are running about 80% of our applications in the cloud. Then that questions, why do you need such a huge MPLS network, and what is the purpose of it? Today, we are taking an opportunity and connecting all our branch offices into Alkira, because the concept of edge is not taking cloud to the branch, it's taking branch closer to the cloud. And the only way to take a branch closer to the cloud by putting an enterprise exchange like Alkira, and because you guys run closer to the app, and by bringing user closer to the app, and by having platform like Alkira running next to the app, we were able to reduce the latency, and we were able to deliver the performance that is needed, instead of taking app to the user and taking user closer to the app.
Right. And how long did it take for the initial deployment for some of your use cases in India? It was a few days, or did you have to call anybody to provision the circuit?
No, we don't need to call anybody, because the platform is already deployed. I think every time when a use case was asked, Alkira team came back and said, it's ready, click go deployment. It's already automated in the backend, and we were able to instantly deploy in a matter of minutes, I would say.
Right. And do you want to give some percentage of how much money you would be saving by bringing everything together at a high level?
Probably in double-digit $1 million I will save in terms of saving cost from circuits and hardwares and all of that.
Right.
Think about deploying a new cloud region would cost us $500,000 if you follow your standard architecture. And with Alkira, we were able to do it in a few $100,000. That makes our life easy. And think about deploying the large MPLS network cost us double-digit $1 million, and we are aiming to shrink that cost, save those money, and channelize towards the right strategy and right architecture going.
And at the same time, you improved the latency, you improved the performance of the applications, and the agility to add more, reduce partner onboarding. You're onboarding 2,000 partners onto the same infrastructure and still controlling resources, how they're shared with those partners. Absolutely. And that's a very difficult thing to achieve, as you know today, and you have to use many different point products to be able to accomplish that. So extranet as a service to onboard partners for mergers and acquisitions, segmentation, multi-cloud. We abstract all clouds to make them look like one from the networking perspective, and you only have to deal with the VPCs and VNets as an example. And then attaching them to the on-premise environment to bring branches and data centers and remote users together in one way. That's almost impossible to achieve. I mean, it takes so long, to deploy that kind of an infrastructure, and every few years you have to go and upgrade the hardware, right? So that's what we are talking about, and I would really appreciate Guru talking about this stuff. I know we are out of time. If you have any questions, our booth is right there, and please feel free to drop by and ask any questions if you have. Thank you so much, Guru.
Thank you so much, Amir. Thank you so much, everybody.